Yarr! Hello! Welcome to the SEGA Lounge. I like the surprises on your faces. Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, mateys. This is episode 251, and obviously it's dedicated to a very special game we're going to be discussing. For those who are new here, we don't always talk like a pirate. This is the SEGA Lounge, a podcast dedicated to all things Sega, the music, the games, the community, everything in between. I'm your host, KC, and this week I am not alone. I have my mateys, my crew, my ragtag crew of great Sega community members. So like to my right, to my immediate right, we have Peky from the crew of Persona Spain. Hello, Peky.
Hello, hi. I'm pleased to be here, and I'm excited to sail the seas with the Sega Lounge ship.
Let's go. Keep on working on those puns. Welcome. Nice to have you back. And I think a person who we can only describe as my first mate in this adventure of special episodes dedicated to Like a Dragon games. We have Brian from the Dreamcast Junkyard. Hello, Brian.
Yarr. How are you doing?
How are you doing? Doing good. Yeah, so many, and it's interesting because wherever you look for reviews about the game that we're discussing, which by the way is obviously Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, best name ever, perhaps, maybe not. But wherever you,
It's a name.
It's a name. Wherever you try to look for reviews, everyone has to make at least one pirate-related pun. Right? But no one has done one, I think, which is very simple. They could just do one with like a popular saying, like, booty is in the eye of the mad dog, maybe. I apologize.
We'll workshop it. I think it has potential.
So, we're talking about Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, the latest spinoff in the Like a Dragon series of games. And like we usually do for these special episodes dedicated to a specific game, we have like an outline document that we worked on, and we have some topics to discuss. But sometimes the conversation takes us elsewhere, so it's fine. We have all played this game, and we have some thoughts. So we're going to start with our overall thoughts, as we usually do when we do these special episodes. So what I wanted to ask you guys, Brian and Peky, so without getting into any specific things like mechanics and story and stuff like that, which we will try to, by the way, keep it like spoiler free, at least until very late into this episode. So if we do get into spoiler territory, we'll add a warning, a spoiler warning. But for now, you're safe. So keep on listening if you're curious about the game. But without getting into specifics, overall thoughts on this game. And I'll probably start with Brian. Let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm, in some ways I'm still kind of settling in. I just finished the last of the sub stories I wanted to do last night and today. So, and generally, like, that is historically one of the big strengths of the franchise. I don't know if that carries over necessarily to being a strength for this game in particular. And I think that's kind of the way I would describe it, is it is a departure in a way that is maybe a fairly less Yakuza-like experience than we may be accustomed to. And that's not necessarily a value judgment. I think it has some unique things it does really well that I won't, we'll probably get into everything as we get deeper into the conversation. But I guess overall, I would say it was still a very good game. I don't know if I would approach it in the same way that I have traditionally with other Yakuza games. But I did like it.
Yeah.
Generally positive
Excellent.
vibes. Yeah.
Excellent. Great. What about you, Peky?
Yeah, for me it was great, a great game. It was fairly positive as well, but I think the story for me it was not what I was expecting, because when I play a Yakuza game, you expect a great story, a deep story, and this was not the case with Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. It was a really tame story. I felt like nothing is happening for 3 to 4 hours of the game, like half of the game. So yeah, that was kind of disappointing, but nonetheless, it's a great game. It's really fun to play. So yeah, positive overall.
Yeah, I agree with you guys with both of your opinions here. The main reason I like this game, I don't know if it's the main reason, but one of the big reasons for me is it's a shorter Yakuza or like a Dragon experience, right? A little bit like The Man Who Erased His Name, and I had it on the document too. We could compare this with, I think in the best comparison we can make, the only thing that's kind of like this is The Man Who Erased His Name, like a Dragon Gaiden, in the way that it's like a side story. It's not a mainline game. There, one can argue that you can compare it to, in certain respects, with Ishin as well. Certain parts of the gameplay as well, but mostly, in my mind, it's like another side game, another spin-off that doesn't really, I don't know if it moves the story forward in any way, like maybe slightly at the end, but
Very
not
slightly.
really.
Totally.
Not really. The Man Who Erased His Name, story-wise, is much stronger. So I agree with you guys. Side stories, the main story itself, it's not really what we're probably expecting from a traditional like a dragon game. That being said, the gameplay and the fact that it's a shorter experience for me won me over, because after last year, most things that I played last year were very long games, right? So Infinite Wealth, Metaphor, Fantasia, even Sonic X Shadow Generations, which was not really that long of a game, but if you played the Sonic Generations part and the Shadow Generations part of the game, it was like a little longer experience. So having something that you can still waste a lot of your time on this game if you want to complete everything, if you want to do like all the side stuff, but you can just like blaze through the main story and you'll be done in a very, very short period of time. And that I appreciated, because I don't have it in me at this moment to spend like over 100 hours on a game again. And maybe that's it. That's why I enjoy this more than maybe I was expecting. I'll be honest. I didn't think the premise was any good, although I know these games are always crazy. So yeah. So yeah, I think overall, as you said, mostly positive. I think very positive for me. I enjoyed myself very much, but with the caveat, like Brian said, don't approach this as you would a traditional, so to say, mainline, like a dragon game, right?
Yeah.
That being said, let's maybe get into a little bit more. I don't know, Brian, you had something else to add, I think.
I'm trying to think about how I would describe it without spoiling anything.
Mhm.
So we'll just continue forward, and I'm sure
Okay.
I'll bring it up
Okay.
later.
So still spoiler free. Let's get into things a little bit more specific about this game. So starting with like memorable moments, and before we get into like specific like gameplay, story, things like that. So what would you say were the things that you enjoyed the most, the things that are still stuck in your head? I know, Brian, you're still playing it. I'm still playing it too. I don't know if that's the case for you, Pecky, or if you've moved on.
Yeah, I moved on for a while, but
Hmm.
I plan to return to get all those side quests I have pending.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And so maybe you're the best person to go first because you haven't played it in a while.
Yep.
What stuck with you for this? For the how many days you haven't played it?
Yep. For me, it was the ending of the first act. The moment the game turns into a musical. I really, I really, really, really like that. I mean, I really need now. I need a spin-off with Yakuza the musical. I really need it. I really like that, and it stuck with me the moments that Majima acts as a narrator. I think they should have continued that trend, and it's kind of wasted potential there to have stopped that. But yep, those are the things that really really stuck with me. And then the final boss is really spectacular, and yeah, you have those flashy moments, those flashy Yakuza moments that we all enjoy. So yeah, that's mainly the things that stuck with me.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, great stuff. Yeah, Brian.
I think to follow a common theme with because we've done episodes on just about every game since seven, right?
Yeah,
With
yeah.
on to this degree, and a through line here is that I always tend to get wrapped up in whatever the main new side thing is, as whether it's the real estate management sim or Dodoko Island, and of course this time, you have the pirate ship crew
Oh yeah.
gathering, the tournaments that you can participate in Madlantis, which we can contextualize that
Hmm.
later.
Totally.
And so I really got wrapped up in trying to get all of as many crew members as possible and to do all of those challenges and to just spend as much time just being an aimless pirate on the open seas and doing some of those subquests that revolved around that. And I think that is where I had the most fun. But it is also kind of the thing that if you spend too much time doing it, there is a limit to there are some diminishing returns after a while,
Hmm.
in a way that I don't know if I felt the same with like Dodoko Island or some of those. But overall, I think that is what sets it apart from the other Yakuza games, and that is one of my favorite, most memorable aspects of it that I kept going back to and kept ignoring the main story to keep doing. So
Hmm.
yeah, overall, I just had a great time with that.
Hmm. Yeah, I have to say, I feel like this time, it was as easy as it was to still get sidetracked by things.
Yeah,
It wasn't as
totally.
easy as in other games. Just like we said before, right? It's not as side stuff heavy as maybe other games. And even like you said, Brian,
Yeah.
the ship stuff, the pirate stuff, and the Metlantis tournaments and stuff, it's fairly easy to get to a point where you can like blaze through most of
Mhm.
that without like having too much. The difficulty isn't really that high, or at least you can navigate around that fairly easily. The puns
Yeah,
keep going.
totally. It's really easy to get hooked into the naval fights,
Mhm.
because when I was reviewing the game, I had to tell me, "Hey, stop it here and keep going with the main quest," because it's so easy to say, "Oh, one more fight. Oh, I beat this.
Yeah.
One more fight," and then you see that you have almost all the fights completed, and you have to say, "Hey, stop," and keep going with the main quest. So yeah, that's kind of cool too, and it was
Yeah.
great to do.
Yeah.
It was fairly similar to the Yoryu clan in The Man Who Erased His Name.
Okay.
to get something similar. It was fairly similar, but still as entertaining. So yep.
Okay. Yeah. I was just trying to. I forgot that I could be just like showing footage of this because we have footage. uh, and so yeah. So the Madland. So if we can get into specifics now, I feel like it's better if we get into that. So Madlantis, for people who are watching or listening to us, I don't think it's spoilers because you I think we saw that in one way or another in trailers and discussions previous to the game being released. But Madlantis is like a place similar to in like a Dragon Gaiden. There was like I can't remember
The
what
shipping
they,
barge
Yeah,
or
they
the
call it.
yeah,
Was it like a
the
casino? They call it
yeah,
no.
it was a casino, yeah,
Yeah, right.
but
But it on
I
a
don't
ship.
know how it was spelled, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it's the similar the equivalent to that, right? And you have tournaments. This time, the big attractions are the ships and the like the different crews fighting each other, and then you have like ship combat, and you can when you sink an enemy ship, you can board it. Not when you sink, but when you defeat it, right? You can
disable.
disable. Okay, you can
Yeah.
board it, and then there are like more traditional Yakuza like fights. I mean, not really traditional because it reminded me of
Yeah, like
the
Muso.
clan stuff in
Muso
Ishin.
fight.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
more of Muso fight, yeah, Muso style,
Yeah.
like what you have in like Dragon Ishin when you go exploring. You have like
Mhm.
your clans, little expeditions, trying to find treasures or rescuing something. This is the equivalent of that in a way. No spoilers. So let's not spoil the story here. The footage was spoiling maybe things a little bit. But I think that is easy to get lost in. But like I said before, it's not that hard to upgrade stuff to a point where the challenge isn't it's like that big. And I guess you can say that for the overall street fighting combat as well. I think this is the game in the series where I felt like more overpowered.
Totally. Yep.
And if you compare it again, in my mind I still keep comparing this to The Man Who Erased His Name, and I remember Kiryu didn't feel as overpowered as Majima felt here from the very beginning, I think. So you have two fighting styles. You have Mad Dog. Is it Mad Dog and Sea Dog? No.
Yep.
Yes, I think it is.
I think those are the two.
Yeah. So Mad Dog is like the traditional Majima style.
Stabby.
Stabby, spinny, jumpy,
Yeah.
which is like something new.
Spider-Man jump.
Yeah. So you have a wider freedom of movements, which probably makes this easier in a way, right? From the player's point of view. And then you have Sea Dog style, in which like Majima turns into a full blown pirate with a pistol and like two swords, and again a little bit like Mad Dog, but more like swordy, spinny as well. And you have a hook this time, like a slingshot thingy, in a way that you can use to grab and pull opponents and things in the open world. But that's probably my main criticism to this game. So maybe I'm sounding too negative. I really like this game, but but I'll just get on with the negative first, and then I'll praise it afterward. But it seemed like it was fairly easy to upgrade your abilities. I didn't really feel like, oh, I really need to grind more. I really need to complete more side quests because I already had like most of my abilities upgraded to the max, or even if I didn't, enemies didn't really pose too much of a threat, too much of a challenge. So that's probably what I feel like, and that's true for both street fighting, like combat, regular combat, and the ship stuff. Ship stuff, there's a side quest that is like a big side quest in which maybe there's a bigger challenge if you advance through that. Maybe we can talk about that later. But apart from that, maybe like even Medlantis tournaments don't really feel too difficult. Is it just me as a
No,
pro gamer? Not really.
no, it's I totally agree with you. The difficulty, it was fairly easy to say it. Um, to make it a challenge, I decided not to upgrade the ship, or not to upgrade some Majima abilities, and even so, it was not as challenging as for example the man who erased his name, because I remember I had to retry a lot some fights in the man who erased his name. But here I had an easy time, so yeah, definitely Majima is quite overpowered.
Yeah, I love the
Yeah, sorry.
idea. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I love that idea of finding new ways to like derive challenge from it, whether that's like withholding certain upgrades and whatnot. I I kind of did what I did with Gaiden a little bit, and with the segments where you're doing the big group battles, I would try to min max like my pirate team and crew and let them see if they could just complete the fight for me, and so do absolutely nothing other than maybe like use the buffs when those become available or something. But yeah, I definitely think there's probably a meta game here where we should figure out, oh, what's in lieu of everything being too easy by default, because you're right, you don't really have to grind at all to get to become overpowered like halfway through the game. It's like, oh, what are some other ways to kind of add a little challenge, or just test ourselves, and maybe make I don't know, add a little element of um of that kind of, I
Yeah.
don't know, that element of fun in a way,
Mhm. I
even
found
if
myself
it's
like doing stuff like that. Like, so I'm only gonna fight them using like dodging and using the like those abilities where you charge, you hold B to like do that spin attack, or like
Mhm.
hold Y to just like attack with your knife and stuff. But then, as we can see here, it's like more like Spider Majima,
Mhm.
just jumping and pulling enemies and throwing them in the air, which is really fun. Uh, so,
Yep.
Yeah.
and this is where I like start praising this. So, even if you feel like you're overpowered, it's really fun. It's really fun. I felt like I was having a blast doing this, like
Yep.
a little bit like in maybe in Zero with Majima, the one of I don't remember the names of the fighting styles he had in Zero, but there was one that was like he was very like maybe the dancer or something like that. He moved really fast and stuff. So,
Yep.
and that's what it felt like, but for both fighting styles. I don't see like there's a big advantage in either of them. At least for me, you could do like most of the fights in either of them and you'd be
Yeah.
fine. I don't both have like very basic differences in terms of like mechanics, but it's you can get through all the fights in either of the styles, I feel.
Yeah.
Right.
They're both
Yep.
equally unfair to your opponents.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I would say maybe Mad Dog was helpful with big groups and like kind of the Muso style ones, just or battles, because when you guard, for example, you guard all directions, so you just have to hold that button. Doesn't matter if you're surrounded, you're gonna not take as much damage. And then also some of the, I guess the hook shot maybe, but certainly the just the guns hitting
Hmm.
triangle or Y. You could there was a lot of like heat actions that you could pretty much take out a bunch of people at once
Yeah, yeah.
with that if you wanted to spam it.
Mhm. One thing you mentioned was like the team, the group battles, right? You had your crew. So either when so part of the exploration in this game, which gets a little bit old, a little bit fast, because it's basically every island is basically the same, right? You go
Mhm.
into an island, maybe there's a challenge because one of the islands has like toxic fumes and you have to be quick because your health keeps depleting. But other than that, you have to fight a group of bad guys, rival pirates, or maybe a very not so overpowered enemy, like a boss fight, and then you get treasure. In
Mhm.
those instances, like when you board a rival ship, you have a group of pirates, co-pirates with you, your fellow crewmates, which you can choose. You can level them up, like you said, Brian. But I feel like that in some instances that also contributes to make the game easier if they are fairly leveled up as well, right? In the beginning, not so much. It's mostly you doing the fighting and them getting killed off pretty quickly. But as they level up, they do the fighting for you in many instances, I feel. So I don't know if is there a way to like remove all crewmates
Yeah,
from
you
I I think so. Yep.
probably
yeah.
could. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I've gone where I forgot to add crewmates that I took
Yep.
out, and so I just
Same.
a little bit shorthanded. So I imagine you could just remove all of them.
Hmm.
Maybe you
Maybe.
need a first mate or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, because what happens is throughout the story, people leave and come back, and when they leave because of the story, they get removed from your squad immediately, like automatically. You don't need to do anything. And if they come back and you don't re-add them manually, they just leave an open spot there in your crew, so in your squad. So, and that happened to me fairly often.
Yeah. To me, it happened as well, and I didn't notice like 3 or 4 main quests later. I was like, wait, I think I think I forgot someone.
Yeah. Um yeah, so gameplay wise, guys, obviously, and for people who are not really familiar with this, the mainline like a dragon games are now turn-based, turn-based combat. I would say maybe like hybrid turn-based in a way, but mostly turn-based. Um, so they turn to these side games to go back to the original action-based combat. Um, and so that's what happens here, right? This is like a traditional Yakuza and not like a Dragon. Like a Dragon games are turn based. Yakuza, the old ones, were action based. And this is one of the original ones, although with more freedom of movement, more, uh, I don't know, more overpowered or a character that is overpowered. So that's what you'll get from this. Did you guys, Brian? You already talked about this, but for example, I used Mad Dog, yeah, on the streets of Honolulu because that's the default. And
Yeah.
so I chose to like do this as a way to get used to both, and I saw no difference whatsoever. I was proficient in both. Uh, on the streets of Honolulu, I used Mad Dog all the time. When I was doing pirate stuff, I used Sea Dog because that's the default for that as
Mhm.
well. Did you guys do it differently, Pecky?
Yeah, I kinda do the same. I kinda did the same. I mean, uh, it's I was really familiar with Sea. I really liked it because you had the range attack, and that was really useful to deal with crowds of enemies. So that was my favorite. But sometimes I just went with Mad Dog, and it was quick to get grips into it, and yep, they were fairly similar, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of work to press the D-pad to change it. So I did the
Yeah.
same. I'm just like, I don't know. Well, a lot of work to remember, really. I'm like, I mean, this is a fight that's going to last 5 seconds, overpowered against all these enemies, like on the street. There's no point in changing to the Sea Dog at that. So,
Yeah.
although I would sometimes use Mad Dog specifically for boss battles because you have an extra dodge, like 3 dodges that you can upgrade instead of just 2 for the
Mhm.
Sea Dog, and that often made it easier to avoid some of their prescribed attacks and to do counters and stuff. But you didn't really need to strategize that much.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
both were sufficient in almost every situation.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, I just like forgot that I had the option sometimes to change it. So I just decided to not do it. I think I ended up trying Sea Dog in street fights at the beginning. But then I like changing it manually to Sea Dog. But then I didn't really see the point in that because both of them are very easy to use. And again, you are truly overpowered. Which, especially for the challenges like this, what we're seeing now, like when we're fighting against hordes of enemies, uh, that does really make it easier and like make you feel like, yeah, I can do this. This is amazing. Yeah. But as a challenge, maybe not the best. If you want to be challenged, maybe this is not the game for you.
I mean, it is a bit
yeah.
unfortunate just because, I mean, thinking about all of the people who I know who've complained when the mainline series started doing turn-based, which I wholeheartedly embrace. I actually think that was a brilliant decision, and I love it, especially as they've evolved it with Infinite Wealth and made it even better. But nevertheless, I think it kind of goes the preference for that beat 'em up style or that like real-time combat style is part and parcel with probably wanting an additional challenge or test of reflexes or you know memorization of combos or
Mhm.
whatever that is. And so I do feel like there is a little bit of a missed opportunity here in that you have the right combat style, but it's not tuned necessarily in a way that takes advantage of that, or at least for the people who want that. They're not really getting a full I don't know, there's a little bit left on the table, I would say, as far
Yeah.
as maybe not having an extra challenge mode, or maybe that's something they might add, or I haven't done New Game Plus yet. So maybe
Yeah.
there's a
Same.
extra hard or difficult option that you can choose, but yeah, it would be great if there was another difficulty level or two to work with above what's there.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Mhm.
even if the game is really easy, the combat is really really enjoyable, and I think that's the most important thing, because they have time to fine tune some details into the next Gaiden or whatever they use the combat, but the bases are there. So I think that's the main thing I get from Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. It's that combat in street combat or naval fights, it's really really fun, but they have to tune it just a little bit to make it more challenging.
That's why I'm not. I think I'm coming out as like complaining, but I'm really not that bothered by the lack of difficulty and of challenge because it's really fun. You really
Yeah,
do have a lot of fun.
totally.
Like you said, even the like the ship fights, They're fun, like ramming into an enemy ship and like crashing them.
fun.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. It's
Very satisfying.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could do that. I just did it once. Like I was trying to dodge an attack or something, and I rammed into another ship, and they broke down in front of me. That was really fun and satisfying. So I think you guys are right. It's like it's just a matter of using what they have already developed and just like fine tuning it to make it more challenging for people who do like look for that kind of gameplay challenge, which I know many people really do. They
and
will get put
and
off by an easier game. Yeah, sorry.
And sorry, I think there's a little bit of lag on my end, so
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So yeah, forgive me for crosstalk. But I guess on one hand, I feel like it hits it's a little bit more challenging for me because you're right, it feels amazing, and I agree completely. Like I think the combat just on its own standalone just feels really good, and they've got that down. But I I am actually a little more bothered that it is too easy, or at least that took me out of it a little more than it would have, only because the narrative wasn't there to pick up the slack on the other side of that. Because usually it's like if a game's too easy or not tuned right, like I can find other drivers to kind of keep me engaged. And I think this is the first Like a Dragon / Yakuza game that I felt like that engine wasn't always firing on all cylinders, one way or another. And I think narratively, it just wasn't as interesting. And even the subquests, which I mentioned, have historically been a strength of the franchise. I really can only think of like 3 or 4 that I really liked. And there are some really great subquests in this game, but so many others feel either carried over from previous games or just modular, kind of plugged in, or just like
But
pay
you
homage.
have Captain Beef, Brian. I don't know what you're
You
talking
do have
about.
Captain Beef here.
You have Captain Beef.
It's
So
true. And he was never on my crew after I
really,
leveled enough other people up to
and
make him obsolete.
he wanted you to find 7 balls
That's right.
of gold, and Shen-san is extremely wealthy, and he will grant you a wish if you do. Actually, I haven't completed this golden ball side quest.
I didn't either. I bought a few of them at random.
I didn't.
When you wish upon some balls is the name of the side quest. And there we go. And then you get an email. It's Shen. I heard from Beef. Thanks for taking on my request. And you have 7 locations of the 7 golden balls. Yeah, but I totally agree. Totally agree. I think, and we can talk about this maybe like closer to the end of the show. But I feel like the only time when the story really feels like it's like a dragon story is the very last chapter, like the finale. And even then, maybe it's a little bit underwhelming because it's not really that unpredictable as sometimes Like a Dragon stories are. There are some emotional beats there. But apart from that, it's not the big all-in story that we're used to in these in this series. So I do feel like that makes sense, Brian. It could be, we could balance out the lack of difficulty with a very good story, a very strong story, or side quests, which are really not present here. I think the main strength of this game, or the 2 main strengths, I'll repeat, not being a very long game, which is good, unless you really want it to be, which you can still spend a lot of time here, and the gameplay itself, that the mechanics themselves are like, it's very, very fun. It's really satisfying to do what you need to do in this game. But again, if you're looking for a very hard game or challenging game, maybe look elsewhere. Maybe play the other games in the series, right? So
Yep.
speaking of side quests, since you touched on that, Brian, anything specific that stood out to you guys in terms of side quests, apart from Captain Beef?
Yeah.
Anything specific?
A couple of did for me. I don't know, Packy, if you wanted to mention
No,
any
all
first, but
yours,
I
all
can.
yours. Yep.
Yeah. So I think I don't know if either of you got through the Minato girl subquest
Halfway
slash
through
I
it.
Yeah, halfway.
mismatch or the
Yeah,
mismatch, whatever her actual name is, Machiko.
I think it's mismatch.
Miss
Mismatch.
that was her
Mismatch. Yeah.
former name under the app in
Oh,
the
but yeah,
Infinite
but
Wealth, and then she changed it. But anyway,
yeah.
okay, I don't want to get into that if you haven't finished it. I would highly advise that you do, and anybody listening or watching this, do watch it. I feel like or play through the entirety of it. There is a payoff at the end, quite a few payoffs actually. I think overall that was maybe one of the more cringier of the subquests in both good and bad ways, but it was also one of the most hilarious and one that I just like kind of laughed out loud as it wound to a conclusion. So yeah, that one absolutely stands out to me. And then I think the other one is the core pirate, the what's it called, the hold on, I might have written it down here. Oh yeah, core pirate compliance.
Oh yes.
It's a little bit of a shorter mission, but for me
Yes.
it was very memorable just because it was yeah, I don't know, it hit a little close to home, I think, from for a lot of people, I imagine, in their work situations. Even if they're not pirates, I think there's a lot of relatable, a lot to relate to, and how we try to balance the culture of an industry or organization such as piracy um, with the need to actually make sure people are not treated like crap. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
That was a
honestly,
funny one as well.
it
Yeah.
was a really good one. So those were like the two that jumped out to
I
me
would
for
have
sure.
mentioned the first one that you said there, because I think I think there are 4 girls, right? 4 or 3?
Yep.
4.
I
I've done
for
the two of them. I've done the like 2 of the side quests
Yeah,
there.
sorry, there's 5.
There's 5. Okay.
Oh,
So see,
okay.
2. I've done 2. And I actually took a screenshot of this particular one that I did, which is a live streamer. And so you do a live stream with one of the girls. You play Virtua Fighter 3, I believe, or 3TB. I think it's
Mhm.
3. But obviously, it's the magic of technology because the screen is off. There are no cables. The microphone is
wireless.
very old. It's all wireless, but it's all
Yeah.
turned off. So I thought this was amazing.
Oh, I thought they did turn it on. They show footage of the game playing in that cutscene.
Yeah, I don't think in the cutscene. I think they show it like you playing it. I don't remember
Well,
if they show.
yeah.
I
mean,
like on the
in the
screen. I don't think
dialogue.
so.
Oh, I know the screen within the like that screen eventually shows like
Maybe.
granted not the highest res or best quality footage of Virtua Fighter. He plays
Maybe.
Akira. Plays
Yeah,
Akira
they show.
Yuki.
They show. I don't remember seeing it on the screen. But
Yeah.
I took this screenshot. I think this is after the side quest is over. Like
Yeah, when
at
they
least the
turn it off.
gameplay bit is over, and
yeah.
and I really thought this was funny. She carries her streaming gear around on a box everywhere
In a cardboard box.
in a cardboard box, and she takes it with her anywhere she goes. She's from Japan. And she's in Hawaii, and yeah, let's go stream. And it's not like a laptop; it's like a real like tower, like that desktop, and an actual monitor, and a keyboard and a mouse, which are all wireless, obviously. Yeah,
If only it was that
high
easy.
end microphone as well. Yeah.
Mhm. I'm surprised Revolve's Wi-Fi was good enough for that.
That's true. That's true. Which, by the way,
I guess they are.
Yeah.
To be fair, I guess they are addicted to that friend app. So
Yeah.
Maybe they make sure they have a good connection at all
Mhm,
times.
mhm.
Yep.
Sorry,
So
Casey.
no, that's it. So speaking of many things return from Infinite Wealth. I think this is a good time to mention that. So you don't start off in Honolulu this time. You start off in an island somewhere, a rich island. Majima, as people already know, has lost his memory. He gets rescued by a kid named Noah and his cat. He keeps saying it's a
Yep.
cat, not a
Totally a cat.
tiger, not a baby tiger. No, it's a cat called Goro, just like Majima. And they set off at some point. They set off on an adventure, and Majima becomes a pirate. So that's the story. But it eventually leads them to Honolulu, and so you get almost the whole of Honolulu to explore, like in Infinite Wealth. I don't know if there's something that opens up after you. I've started like the premium adventure, they call it, after you finish the game. But there are still parts of the map that are blocked. I don't know if that eventually opens up.
I think it doesn't.
I don't
think
think,
it
yeah.
stays closed. Yeah.
But it's not it's like just a small part of the
No,
map,
it's
right?
it's pretty small.
Most of
Yep.
it is available to you for you to explore, like you did in Infinite Wealth. You have the Segway thingies again, highly customizable. You get I feel like the Segways are smarter this time. I don't know.
Yep.
When you
I
did you
think
feel
they are.
that as well?
Yeah, I really felt it because I think they follow the path more smoothly and they don't make extreme turns or ram into cars. So yeah, I think they are pretty smart this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you get Revolve again. You get the Aloha Links app, Aloha, and you get that as well. And that's something. And so even if we say side quests aren't that amazing this time, you don't have as much to do as in other games, but the little things that you do have are as addictive as before. So like I find myself, I say, okay, so I'm gonna walk to my goal. Maybe I want to go back to my ship, and instead of like doing like a quick taxi ride, like the quick travel thing, the fast travel thing, I'll just walk, and then I start like aloha, aloha, and I get unlocking. I start unlocking new buddies, and then I find myself on the other side of town because I just there's like a gray dot over that person's head, so I want to friend that person, and then another one and another one. Can I? There's the Anaconda shopping mall. Let's get in there and like play some Daytona or whatever. So it's very easy again to get sidetracked by the little things. So don't get discouraged by us saying it's not as challenging and not as story rich as before. There are still like those little things that you can do that are as addictive as before. There's crazy delivery,
Yep.
which I feel is a little bit more complicated this time. Like more that
Yeah.
there's a challenge. There's a bit more of a challenge there.
They tweaked it and ramped it up a little bit, the difficulty. So I think it felt great, to be honest. I think
Mhm.
it was um, a smart decision to ramp it up a little bit, the difficulty, and I really enjoyed it. I liked it.
Yep. Yep. I was trying to find footage, but I don't know if I do have footage of crazy delivery. You get two spots in the city where you can do crazy delivery now. So you get the one that you had before with in Infinite Wealth, and you get another spot near, I think, the orphanage or something, where you find the crazy delivery guy. And most of these characters that you know from Infinite Wealth or other Like a Dragon or Yakuza games can be added to your crew in some way or another. Like some of them you have to complete a certain challenge, others you have to just if your pirate rank is high enough, you just unlock them, you go up to them, talk to them, they will join your crew. Others, you have to complete a side story, things like that, right? Any memorable crewmates for you guys apart from
Mm.
Captain Beef?
I mean, I don't know if you all did the pre-order thing or had it included where there was you get like your Kiryu and Daigo and some of them. So like it was kind of fun, and Ichiban. It was like kind of fun having them around, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You can't really talk to them or there's no like personality there. They're just swappable
Skins, right?
carrot skins
There we
to
go.
to put into your. But it
They're
is fun
all.
to um yeah, I think the act of collecting, so to speak, collecting crewmates was a lot of fun. And there were a lot of unexpected ways to do that, whether it was just talking to someone on the street who wanted something, and it's like, oh, I got you this fancy fish or whatever you wanted, and now you agreed to work with me indefinitely as a crew member full time on my
Of
ship.
course.
That's quite a deal for me, really. Um, and and then other times, yeah, it's like after you get done with the crazy delivery or some of the other side quests, the sicko snaps or whatever, like you would have people that you could join, and then you could also, as rewards for a lot of the mini games where you would accrue points, you would be able to buy additional people just in the menu as you would a clothing item or um or a soundtrack. You could just buy new crewmates. I don't know under what authority the batting cages at or the batting thing at Madlantis has to just have ownership over um over these people that they can just employ to you if you earn enough points by playing their game. But oh
But
well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we'll take it.
but it was really addicting to get all the crewmates you could, even if you don't use them. It
Mhm.
was really really addicting to see a spot in the minimap and say, oh, I can get that crewmate. I'm not gonna use it, but I can get it,
Yeah.
and I will. So it was really fun to get them. Some were easier, as you said. You can just outright buy them and get done with it, and some where, for example, I remember to have one specific crewmate, you have to get, I think it was 120 or 150 in a darts game or something like that. So
Yes.
it
Oh
was,
yeah.
yeah, it was fun to complete all of that.
Mhm. Yeah. You
Yeah.
even have like famous actors that can join you.
Mikkel Kidman.
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah,
Or
Nicole
Nickel
Kidman.
Kidman.
Nicole Kidman. A popular actress famous for her
Yeah.
smile.
I did actually like how they integrated the system and maybe they did the same with Sujimon. I can't, the last game, I can't remember, but I really liked how they encourage you to partake in all of the different things. I mean, even Shogi had a couple of things you can unlock, right?
Yeah.
I'm
And so
never
it's
gonna get
right,
near
but
that.
it's actually kind of addicting. I'll say once you get
I
like the
bet it
hang of it.
is,
It's just, I mean,
yeah.
it's just chess really, um, but yeah, so it's really interesting just to I don't know, like it does encourage you to, it gives you that like little extrinsic motivation to actually try mini games that you otherwise wouldn't have played. And
Yeah.
yeah, and the thresholds for unlocking those things aren't so catastrophic or so like to your to the time. Like they don't
Mhm.
require you to have to sink a ton of time into playing it. It's like after maybe 10 or 15 minutes you could pretty much get all the characters that are on offer, or whatever requirement it is to unlock Gary Buster Holmes or whoever. um, but yeah, that was I enjoyed that, and actually, that kind of wasn't, I don't know, it was a nice counterweight to the fact that so many of the mini games and things were felt modular. And I maybe don't mean that in a positive way. I think a lot of stuff just felt like it was carried over from
Mhm.
previous games just because they had it and they could do it. And so it's like, let's just throw this thing in, even though we have already asked players to do this in 3 other games. Or even like some of the subquests, like the one with the guy with the top hat and he always like has dangerous animals in the cages that he's showing off, and then they always get out and cause havoc, and you always have to fight them. And whether it's a tiger or bear or chimpanzee or whatever, on a big loader machine. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I think this was entertaining the first 1 or 2 games that it shows up in, but like it would have been nice to have a little more originality for some of those subquests and mini games, I guess. But for what it was, as a game that was easy and not easy, that no game is easy to make, but a game that made it that they can use all of these assets and systems and mechanics that they had created for Infinite Wealth and other games. For a side story game, it's like it was a smart decision to do all of that, but I think there are diminishing returns to this style of design, I think. And this is the first game where I've really kind of experienced that.
I think to their or being like devil's advocate here a little bit, I feel like the repeated stuff that's like a staple of the series is fun and funny, and people will enjoy. I, for one, enjoy seeing something that I've seen in all the other games.
Yeah,
I
me
just think the problem is if these are the only things we get, right? If you don't add new stuff on top of it, that's the problem. And I think that's what happened here. You have a lot of repeated stuff and not enough new stuff to get you engaged and like feel like it's a fresh game. It really does feel, and I think more so than the man who raised his name, it does feel like a spin-off game, like a side game, something to get you like to tide you over until we get like 9, like a Dragon 9, right? Whenever that comes out, which I know I was probably more positive about Gaiden than some. I remember, Brian, you were not as positive as me, if I remember correctly from our conversation, but I feel like that felt like a traditional, like one of the old Yakuzas, even if shorter in length. Whereas this one really does feel like a side thing, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And Gaiden really succeeded in kind of mirroring a lot of the highs and lows that a traditional Yakuza game would have through the punchy drama of some of the narrative beats, and then also it making the decision to retell some of the story from another perspective, I think was actually a really nice touch. But it also lent context that actively filled in gaps and helped move the story forward as they were pivoting towards Infinite Wealth. So I think that's one thing that Gaiden did extremely well that I wish I wish this game did a little bit better. But
yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah. I was trying to find footage of, I think this is it. So no, it's too short. I was just trying to find footage of like Kiryu and Daigo and Onomichio, which I have on my crew as well, because is my like the statue thing. I don't know what you call that. I like on the front of the ship.
Oh yeah.
It's Onomichio for me, because why not?
That's awesome. I think I have Nancy on mine.
I debated with that idea, but then
With the claws.
Mine was I think it was Ichiban.
Okay,
So,
nice.
Good one as well. Good one as well. Yeah, the screen before you go to the deck battle, you have all your crew there, and if you have these like look, Onomichio, why doesn't make any sense? But okay, yeah. So the concept really of Onomichio is one that I cherish.
Yep.
For some reason.
Me too. Don't leave Onomichio.
Yeah. So in terms of like side stuff, in terms of mini games and that kind of like arcade games and all that stuff, there's a lot to do, right? So even if we're being a little bit down on the game, it does have a lot to do. So Dragon Kart, there's karaoke, new songs, by the way. There's the whole ship battle thing and the tournaments in Atlantis. There's Crazy Delivery. There's Sicko Snap, right?
Yep.
I haven't done that yet, but I know there is somewhere. What else am I missing? Arcade
The little
games.
the golf.
Golf, yeah. You have the usual UFO catchers.
Yeah, baseball as well.
Baseball, yeah. I'm probably
Which I
missing
really
some.
like how they recontextualized the baseball, where
Yep, it was
you're in the
really
batting
fun.
cage. Yeah,
Yep.
where you're trying to hit, combinations of barrels that include exploding barrels, and it's like there's certain number that you have to clear to open the chest, which is behind it, and so and you're only given so many different tries or so many different attempts, and so you have to make efficient work of combos and chains to be able to clear more barrels to be able to get the treasure. I think that was probably my favorite mini game, or one of my favorite mini games for sure.
I don't think I have baseball, but I have golf. Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know what happened here. I think I was trying to figure it
Bingo.
out, which is not really that hard to get. It took me a while. It took me some balls to realize what I was supposed to do here for some reason. Okay.
Oh, I've never noticed that
There we go.
Goro's just sleeping next to you while you're teeing off. That's really cute.
He's cleaning himself up. Yeah, that's one of the things that I like. Even in cutscenes, he sometimes was. If you were in like the captain's quarters on the ship, he was on the table like sleeping.
Yeah.
There's another thing that we haven't mentioned yet. Cooking.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I was like, does that count as a mini game? I wasn't sure.
I think so,
I
right?
guess it does.
I think it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fairly simple, but I really liked it. I liked the way it was implemented, and I enjoyed it. I mean, and when you try to do the most difficult dishes, it's really challenging, but really fun. I really liked it.
That's where the challenges are. Yeah.
It's true.
In some of these mini games, right? So yeah, because I feel like that's it. We mentioned Crazy Delivery being a little bit harder, a little bit more challenging. Cooking gets challenging after a while, right?
Yeah,
you level up pretty quickly, and I'm sure there's footage of that soon. But also darts, that's another thing you can play.
And the mainstays pool. Actually, I really like how darts. Maybe I haven't played darts in a while, but I remember comparing it to like the way it worked in Zero, and I think they've honed it to a point where I think it's really fun now.
Yeah.
And pool also feels really fun to play too.
I'm always a big fan of darts ever since Shenmue. I usually, whenever a game has darts, I try to play that. But I feel like they've honed it to a it's like
really
the perfect spot now.
Yeah, and for me, pool it's really fun as well, especially the one shot challenges. They are really fun. They are really challenging. You have to try quite a bit to get all the levels, but they are really fun. And when you get that shot, it feels amazing. It
That's
feels
true.
really great. So I spent quite a while to get all the stages. So I really like them.
And that's another way to unlock a crewmate as well.
Yeah.
If you do the one shot challenge, you can unlock
Yeah.
someone, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And here's cooking. Yeah. And again, you always have Goro by your side. And whenever, I think this is the one where he like, rolls over, very happy. Yeah, there we go. Like belly up, very
Yeah,
happy.
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of our dog. Whenever we're cooking, she's just has to be right there to see what we're up to. Usually it's in hopes that we'll feed her some
Of course,
of the
of course.
scraps. But
Yeah, yeah. And so it depending on the difficulty and like the quality of the dish that you're cooking, that you're preparing, the challenges get harder and also are different, are varied. So you have to like to prepare like cut ingredients, and by like pressing buttons at the right time, you can have to like start a fire. What else
Yeah,
do you
you
have
have
to do?
to remove. I
The
think it's
scum. Yeah.
yeah, the scum.
skim
Yeah,
the scum.
Yeah, skim the scum. That's it. And there's another one I feel, but I can't remember. Yeah.
yeah. I don't
The
But
remember right
heating,
now, but yeah,
it's
it's
yeah.
basically that, right?
So it kind of reminds me of, I just had to look it up, but it reminds me of a Japanese PlayStation cooking game a little bit that was a collection of mini games that you would cut carrots and
Mm.
boil and do all the stuff for ingredients. Looking it up, I believe it was this one, Ore no Ryori or Ryuri, and that is basically, yeah, it's like a collection of mini games where usually that one would use the dual sticks because that was pretty novel at the time, or the thumbsticks on the dual shock. But this had flavors of that I was like, oh man, if they added a few more of these, they could make like a whole kitchen simulator game that I think would be really cool. So maybe
yeah.
there's
I
potential for that in the future.
yeah,
I feel like we have a lot of potential for spin-offs here, right? So
yeah, totally.
Oh yeah.
They had quite a lot of great ideas. I think they can expand in the next, like a Dragon 9. I think they
Mhm.
can even make some spin-offs. So yeah, I would totally play a cooking Majima. I would really love to play a full game of
instead of
that.
instead of cooking mama.
Yeah, instead of cooking mama,
Cooking
cooking Majima.
Majima.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
it.
Okay, I
Oh,
got you. I got you. I believe Brian. Let's see. Maybe this is what you're talking about in terms of like. Oh no, not
I don't
this.
know what
Not
I'm
this.
looking
No,
at.
sorry. No, I was trying to show another video, but I somehow messed it up. Okay, wait. We'll try. We'll try again. I was trying to find the cooking game that you mentioned. I think
Oh yeah,
this one,
yeah.
maybe.
Oh yeah,
No,
that
no. It's not working.
no, that was not it.
I'll try again. I'll try again later. But yeah, but
Fair enough.
so there's a lot of potential for spin-offs here. I feel like I don't know why they haven't went all in on a what do we call it? Like a
Muso game.
karaoke. No, that could work as well. But like a full on karaoke game, like a rhythm game. We have
yeah.
so many tracks by now, so many songs now that you could easily do that and get a full game with Yakuza songs. Maybe this
There
is
it
the game
is.
that you were talking about.
That is the one.
Right.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you had different orders that you had to get out, so you had to do the different activities before the time bars disappeared. So you had to kind of prioritize things, and then fill the soup before it goes out. And yeah, it's a really fun game. And
Okay.
Yeah,
this
it looks
remind
great.
me a lot of it.
hmm hmm I know that we had some sort of cooking in like a Dragon Ishin, but I can't remember for the life of me. I can't remember what that looked like. I don't know if you guys
I
remember
didn't get
that.
far enough into Ishin to
I
experience it.
can't remember either.
I can't remember if it looked anything like what we got in this one. So I think we actually have footage of that. Not mine, but here we go. Chop it up.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
it was
Oh,
like
okay.
a reading game. Yeah,
This one was more like a rhythm game, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then okay, yeah.
I like more the approach of like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Okay, yeah.
Because as a reading game, we have the karaoke and it's perfectly fine. So yeah, I think the approach they took this time is it fits better and adds more variety to the game. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'd love to see is like if they did do a full-fledged karaoke game, I would love to see that in arcades as like a SingStar type peripheral game with the
Oh
microphone
yes,
and you could probably even have a home version of that
Yeah.
using similar tech, but
Who
that'd be
knows?
pretty sweet.
Yeah.
that would be so cool.
Okay. So I think we've basically covered most stuff about this without getting into spoilers.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
guess the arcade games, do we want to talk about
Yeah, we can
those a
talk
little bit?
about that. So Brian, please.
Sure. I actually really like the selection here. It isn't quite as robust as in a lot of previous games, but I think well, very topical to have oh, what's the deep dive, not the deep diver. What's that game called?
Yeah,
I played through it like twice and yeah, I can't
I
remember.
do think I have footage of it somewhere, but I'll look it up and let you know.
Ocean
See,
Hunter. I
Ocean
think it's
Hunter.
called Ocean Hunter.
I
Let me
Oh
think
look that
so.
up.
I
yeah,
think so.
yeah.
Yeah, it is such a ridiculous game as far as like in a typical 90s Sega way or early 2000s Sega, like just having some sort of flimsy remnants of a story to lay on top of why we're killing all of these fish and marine life and that for some reason we are the heroes of this story, and that we're saving the world and killing all of these
All
like
of sea life.
all of these historic kraken and oh, actually speaking of which,
Mm.
might crack that open later. Just
Oh,
a little bit of rum
oh.
for the occasion. I guess it is fitting for Pirate Yakuza, right?
Very fitting.
Yeah,
So
totally.
but yeah, anyway, I thought that was a nice touch to have like kind of a light gun sort of game, in a way, or it use like the turret thing.
Yep.
So I wonder if that opens the door for future light gun games, if they can kind of get them, I don't know, a little better calibrated with modern controllers. I know it's always a bit of a ask to do that uniformly with, but for the most part, I think that would be kind of fun. I'd love to see LA machine guns at some point in the future on one of these. But yeah, it was great that they included both Virtua Fighter 3, as you mentioned, and 3TB.
Yeah.
Same with Daytona 2, where you had the Power Edition, which was like kind of the reissue with the Daytona style course for the oval, which I didn't like as much as the Biodome, indoor forest with a waterfall and everything. I thought the original, what was that, Battle on the Edge or whatever.
Battle on
I'm
the
glad
Yeah,
Edge.
they
Yeah.
included both
part of
versions. Yeah, I'm glad that they included both versions of that. Of course, Spike Out and what are some of the others? They didn't have Get Bass or Sega Bass Fishing this time, which I was a little
no.
disappointed.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, what would be on brand to
It
have
would have been
them,
perfect.
right?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
kind of replaced it with, and then Fighting
Fighting
Vipers
Vipers
2 was
2.
the other two. And
Yeah.
that was I love that game. It's so dumb and I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think the one that I'll be honest, I didn't spend too much time on the arcade stuff this time, but I played Ocean Hunter or the
Yeah, there it
Ocean
is.
Hunter. Oh no, sorry. Again. Shouldn't do this. I always keep doing this and hiding the video that I wanted to show. Let's try again. Okay, there we go. Let's do it properly this time.
There it is.
So again, thank you to people, whoever uploaded this footage of a live stream of playing this. But yeah, this is silly as hell. This is like proper Sega and
yeah.
very violent and graphic in a way, in a silly cartoonish way, right?
Hmm.
It
But
is. It
like
is.
and like if you don't I think when I played through this the first time, I didn't save like one of the other explorers or something, and the screen showed he's already gone, or like he's dead already or something very tragic. So yeah, you have to kill everything basically.
Yeah.
Basically, that's it.
Yeah.
And destroy like ancient statues and to
Yeah,
find
but it's
treasure and stuff.
Mhm.
but
My
it's really fun.
God, a big one's coming.
Yeah.
This is proper
Yeah,
Sega.
I remember playing this for the first time at the bowling alley arcade near where I grew up.
It's too
Um,
late. See, that's it. It's too late.
yeah,
Sorry.
and I know it was fine because like I didn't get it then. I was like, I don't know, it seems kind of dumb, and
Mhm.
in a way that I derogatory way. Whereas here, I'm like, oh man, this is so dumb in a good way because it is
Yeah.
actually
Sometimes you need something dumb to keep going on, and
yeah.
this hits the spot. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Pecky? Did you play any of the arcade games?
Yeah,
Or
you
no?
see, for me, I have a problem. I'm a true. I love motorsports, so I try
Mhm.
to try as much arcade stuff as possible. I tried this. I tried Virtua Fighter, but it I always had the Daytona 2 cabin calling me
Mhm.
like a moth into the flame, and I always went to play the Power Edition and the Battle on the Edge. I did all the runs in all the difficulties. I did everything I could, as I did in Like a Dragon Gaiden, because I really love Daytona 2.
Mhm.
I really, really like that
Yeah.
game, and it's so fun to do the slingshot and
Mhm.
steer as quickly as you can, and take the oval at 300 kHp. So yeah, it's really, really fun, and I really liked it. So I tried everything, but I'm a racer at heart, so
Okay.
yeah, I spent quite a lot of time. I'm ashamed to say it, but maybe
Don't be.
5 or 6 hours of my gameplay are Daytona 2. So yeah,
Shout out
I
to our friend
mean,
Rafsig, who I think is also playing through this game and was really disappointed because 1 hour in, he couldn't find Daytona 2 anywhere still. Yeah, it takes a while. It takes a
yeah,
yeah,
while
it
to
takes a while.
find, to unlock the areas where you can play these games, but he's probably
yeah.
going to do the same thing, Pecky, so don't be ashamed. Yeah.
I guess that was the benefit of Gaiden because you could play it at that ramshackle arcade that was in the first, in the
Yeah.
Yokohama area,
Mhm.
Yep.
pretty quickly into it. Where,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people complain. It's like, hey, if Sega's already emulating these Model 3 games for for Yakuza, why not just release them as standalone
Yeah.
games? I get that, but I honestly am happy that it's here as it is because I'm going to play
Yeah.
Yakuza anyway. So I think it's just kind of it's a perfectly fitting, tradition that
Mhm.
they, will add new games every now and then. I guess the one thing I wish they had done with these Hawaii games is dive more into their um, some of their like Model 2 and Model 3 aquatic games. Like I'd love Wave Runner. I think that would have been I still emulate that game and play it all the time. It's like one of my favorite Sega arcade racers. And
Yeah.
then
That's
yeah, Sega Bass
yeah.
Fishing we already mentioned, and yeah, Ocean Hunter was a great one, but yeah, I feel like there's a few more they could have
Yeah,
added.
now that you mention it, I kind of miss the one that is a bike. I don't know how it's not hang
Oh
on.
yeah.
Yeah, how
Man
how
XTT? No, maybe not.
No,
No,
how
that
was it
wasn't in
called?
it.
More
It was
recent.
in Infinite Wealth, I think.
Yeah, like
Um,
Mech Rider. No, no.
no, it how
I
I
have
Let's
to
look
look
it
it
up.
up.
don't. Yeah, but
Something. Yeah,
mo,
My
Motor
Motor
Raid. It
Raid.
was
memory.
Motor Raid.
Oh,
Motor
Motor
Raid.
Raid.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
I love that game, and I would like to see it again in the next Like a Dragon.
Okay.
I kind of missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Brian. Like the C ones, the C based ones would make so much sense.
Yeah.
Even like on the ship or something, right?
Yeah, I think
Which by the
on
way,
the
you can play Master System games. We haven't touched on that,
Yeah,
but
that's
you
true.
can play Master System
Yep.
games. But it would have been nice to have like maybe below the deck or something, that like drinking
A
area,
little arcade.
which is a cool little thing that happens if you go down when you have a lot of crewmates. That below the deck area has like that's like a lounge area of sorts with a bar, and people are doing stuff, they're talking to each other. If you have the pre-order bonuses, one of the tables is like all the legacy Yakuza characters, like just sitting around drinking and talking to each other. It's fun.
Well, I think they position that you can pretty much put all the characters wherever you want based on the team that they're assigned to in the crew
Oh,
menu.
so maybe
So
that's
depending on
my
the position
doing.
there, they'll like because like one of them is you fill it and they'll all be lifting weights over by the bedroom area
Yeah.
or the bunk area, and then they'll have
Oh.
people at the bar who are on a different team and the tables. Yeah, it's all.
So I
That's
was
what
the
they do
clever
is
one
yeah, you
because
just put all of the
I put
legacy
all
characters on the team.
on the same team. Yeah, exactly. Okay. I thought, oh, this is fun. That this is a really cool nod to like them being friends and knowing
Yeah.
each other. No, it was just it's part of how I arranged the teams. Okay, that makes more sense.
Same is also true of the cutscene where they're boarding the
Yeah.
boat. And it's random. It's like very random positions too. It's like not. It's like some of them from the second tier like get into the
No, that
the
one I get. That one
action
I
shot.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I got, or I got at the very beginning, because like those are the characters that I chose to be part of the squad. So yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So speaking of Master System games, it's a fun little addition. We also had them in Gaiden.
Yep.
And didn't we get them in Infinite Wealth?
Yeah,
I
I think
assume
so
so.
too.
So
Because
yeah.
we got them in Judgment and Lost Judgment, so I think we got them in Infinite Wealth as well.
Okay. And we have a lot of them this time. So the way this works is you have a few of them as you start in Rich Island. You have like a little hideout. You have some there, and then you can buy a lot of them like throughout the shops in Honolulu, I believe. Maybe with other mini games like Dragon Kart as well. You can, if you collect enough points, you can unlock some of them. It's the same with songs, right? And you can unlock like buy all the CDs, all the soundtrack CDs that you can play. It's another thing that comes back from Infinite Wealth. You can actually have like a rotation, a playlist of songs that are constantly playing in the background. I don't know if you guys take advantage of that or not really.
Not
Yeah.
really. Oh, but
Oh, yeah. I mean, I
go
often
ahead.
had, I often had just a lot of random soundtrack stuff playing. Whether it was like what was the Galaxy Force had a
Yeah.
couple of tracks that were really good, and of course some of the newer stuff. There was even one from Metaphor, which was kind of I don't know if it was like the main theme or whatever, but
there was Valkyrie Chronicles as well.
Valkyrie Chronicles, Rhythm Thief,
Yeah,
Outrun,
Border Break. But that's
a lot of Border Break.
Yeah, a lot of Border Break. That's
Even
a,
Hatsune Miku,
Persona.
I think it was.
Yeah. I believe
Mhm.
so.
because
Believe so. Yeah.
I tried it a couple of times, and I remember I had the main theme of Fist of the North Star,
Okay.
and the next one it was a Hatsune Miku song. So yeah, my two sides there.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can actually create a random playlist, like you hit shuffle and it just like creates a playlist with whatever songs they want to throw at you, or you can create your own like curated playlists and play them
Yep.
as you play through the regular game, as you go through the streets of Honolulu or at sea.
Segway
Segway.
soundtrack.
Yeah, yeah. I did that. So what I usually do, I do it for a little bit, then I pause, then go through the game a little bit without soundtrack. But then as I unlock or buy more CDs, I think, okay, I'm gonna give this another go.
I also did it with the ship because
Yeah.
I got a little tired of them. Like, it was either silence or they were just doing the
Ho,
same
ho,
sea
ho,
shanty over
ho.
and over. Yeah, like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad they did it, but let's go ahead and put on Spotify or
Yeah.
whatever. Get some of those classic Sega tunes going. Let's get musical sound shower in here.
Okay. So, anything else before we get into spoiler territory for a little bit?
No, I don't
No.
think.
No.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good.
I think we mentioned most things. So for people listening or watching, this is your spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. So be careful. Be careful. Air raid siren. I'll add something in post. So from now on, we'll go into the story a little bit. I don't know how deep you want to go into this. Not that there's too much to talk about, to be
Yeah,
honest.
not
You
too
can't
much.
really go that
Mhm.
deep because it's not really that deep, but I guess we're gonna go into spoiler territory. So we already mentioned how it starts. Majima lost his memory, and somehow he gets tangled up in a scheme to find an ancient treasure of the Esperanza ship. I mean, it's as good as a starting point as any in the series,
Mhm.
right? It's as crazy as it usually is. But as we already mentioned, it's not that deep, so it's not like it's pretty predictable, I think, who your main enemies will be,
Mhm.
right? Maybe there's a little twist at the end, slight twist.
Yeah,
They try
really,
it.
really slight. Yeah.
Yeah, so because we're into spoiler territory, in Medlantis is run by two people, right? The queen and the king. Um,
Yeah,
and
Raymond.
Raymond,
Oh, Raymond,
Raymond
yeah.
Law, right? The king and Queen Michelle, if I'm not
Queen
mistaken.
Michelle. Yep.
Yeah, and you get the sense that the queen is really who runs the show there, so she's really in charge, right? And so I think most of the time, maybe they're trying to set up a confrontation between Majima's crew and the queen, which ends up happening, but the king ends up being the final boss and the ultimate foe there, and the person who like tricks the queen and takes over Madlantis. And that's basically it, right? So they go after a treasure. These very powerful enemies go after them, want the treasure for themselves for different reasons, and we basically don't really get much of like when we compare to the man who raised his name, which somehow, like you said, Brian, retold part of the story from a different perspective, set up things for Infinite Wealth. Here, not so much, right? Things stay as they were, basically.
Yeah. It
Yeah, I
gets
mean,
pretty stale.
yeah, I mean, we can talk about some of the other players in this where they do try to maybe not retcon is the right word, but they try to add a little more context to some of the threads that were left hanging at the end of Infinite Wealth with Halakana and what Bryce's whole thing was and
Yeah.
why he was
Yeah,
200
that's true.
years old or whatever that. And then what happened to some of the Yakuza people who are still around there on Nele Island, where the toxic waste
Hmm.
site was. And then um, yeah, and then of course they introduce a number of new characters as part of their pirate crew, right? You have and unfortunately I think this is where the game breaks down a bit because I just didn't care about the rich family that much. I think Jason was kind of a shithead or how do I say this without swearing? He was kind of a jerk to all of his kids, and including Noah, who is like kind of your co-protagonist with Majima, as you know, he's the one that they kind of help each other out, right? Majima helps him see the world, and Noah kind of helps him navigate this uncertain world that he's found himself in as far as being amnesiac and
Yeah.
not remembering anything. And so they do a good job helping each other out. But I think that yeah, I mean Jason, who the game really wants you to support his redemption arc, so to speak, I just could never like he was just kind of he was kind of a jerk pretty much all the way through. Um, and even his attempts at like rekindling his relationships with, and then of course the two sisters that are also part of the family. Um, I think they should have done more to develop them a bit. I actually really like Naomi on this screen here. I think she could potentially be, at least towards the end, they gave her a little more to do, and I think if they were to do another tale in Hawaii, I could see her as being one of the protagonists that they let you play as far as having management sims of like the jewelry shop and then the Madlantis itself, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think there's like maybe some stuff there. Plus, she was a swashbuckling. She had the combat. She was one of your companions in that. So, anyway, uh, so there's all these characters that they kind of bring together with this shared goal of getting this treasure. And so between the remnants of the Palikane uh, crew and the Yakuza crew who all have different ideas of what they would want. They end up working together and then they draw out a lot of the tension through like, oh, who's gonna backstab who to take the treasure instead under everybody else's nose. And some of that works, some of it doesn't. I actually kind of enjoyed that was probably part of the story I thought was maybe kind of fun, even if it didn't really go anywhere, because ultimately, as you said, it really was all about King Raymond being the main villain, and they kind of sowed those seeds really early on. Um, but yeah, other than that, it was kind of a simple story, and it
There
was what it
was
was. Yeah.
Tucker as well, right? The rich guy
Oh, the
in
rich
New
guy, yeah, the New
York.
York banker or the New York
Yeah,
guy,
like
yeah.
investor or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I thought at some point that would like bring something different to the story, but it turned out
Yeah.
like it was just like
Oh,
another person who tried to backstab other people, and at the end he was like actually a pretty decent guy
Mhm.
uh,
yeah.
who who actually he sums up the whole game at the end, like there's a really nice speech praising Majima and Noah for bringing them all together and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have a point about Naomi as well. Yeah.
I thought they could have given her even more to do, and I'm hoping maybe if they bring some of these characters back that they might explore that or
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally agree. I would like to see more about Naomi. I think it was one of the best characters of the game, and
mhm.
one of the ones that have more development in their story, because the other ones felt and the story felt quite stale at some point. It was like
Mhm.
going around doing the same thing, and you met another character, and it was like, oh, someone that wants to backstab me again,
Mhm.
another one, and another
Yeah.
one. And it was, yeah. So for me, it was like, I think if the game was the first chapter and the last half of the penultimate and the last chapter, it was perfect for me. I think that was the main plot for me. The other things were really not, they don't bring something new to the table. It was the same thing over and over, and it was kind of repetitive. But uh, I get this is a spin-off, and you want to do
Mhm.
something simple. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
a bitter taste with that.
Mm.
One thing that I think I was just expecting more of was a little bit underwhelming, at least for me, was the reason why Majima lost his memory in the first place. So I think you get the sense of there being like a
Oh,
plot
yeah.
against him at some point, and maybe those like Yakuza and the Palikana, and maybe even the people from Atlantis, maybe they knew about Majima and they did something to sink his ship or something. But in the end, it was just like the giant squid attacked the boat or the ship, and he hit his head or fell off board, and he
Yeah.
lost his memory.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, but even even if the reason for him to lose his memory was that dumb, because it was dumb, to be honest, the reason why Majima was there compensates the fact of how he lost his memory for me, because that was
Mhm.
a very touching moment. Uh, if I put down the controller when I finished the game, and I was with a good taste, it was because of that post credit, when you learn
Oh, yeah.
why Majima was there,
Mhm.
and that I really felt that, to be honest, and I really like that, and that mm, made that left a huge mark in me, to be
Mhm.
honest. Yeah, I was crying. I was
Okay,
crying. I was
okay.
literally crying. So yeah.
It didn't move me that much, but I agree. That's the part of the when I said the ending, the finale and the final chapter and the ending, those were like the highlights of the story for me. Um, I kept waiting for Majima to like reach his pocket and like pick up a little rock or something before entering the hospital.
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and yeah, but they were there for, since we're in spoiler territory, they were there, or he was there to find that secret, the part of the treasure that was supposed to give people eternal life,
Yep.
which explains why Bryce was like 100 years old or something in the previous game. And so he wanted to help Kiryu, save Kiryu's life, and that's it. So we still don't really know. It doesn't really end on a hopeful note, I
Not
think,
not quite.
right?
Yeah,
So it like
not
it
quite.
doesn't really tell you that Kiryu is gonna die, but it doesn't really tell
But
you that he's not either, right? So it, like they
yeah,
left that open, which maybe it's for the best.
I mean,
But
yeah,
what's a Yakuza ending without a cliffhanger, right?
yeah.
So they had to find one, and I was like, that's a pretty good one that also like kind of ties into probably whatever they wanted to do in the future with the mainline story. So I think it was a good sequence.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
liked it a lot.
Yeah. I have to be honest, I hadn't thought of Kiryu uh
Mm-mm.
like I mean ever in while playing the game. I didn't even cross my mind that they would do anything with
Yeah.
that part of the story.
yeah,
And so it was surprising if we're talking like plot twists. That was surprising.
And he
Yeah,
was doing so
totally.
much fighting on my ship all the time. Like
Yeah.
he seemed fine.
That's true.
He was in every battle. I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? He's in the hospital, but he's on my ship. But yeah, one thing that I found it very, very interesting was the fact that they spoil basically pretty much most of Infinite Wealth in the first
Mhm.
hour of this game, right? So when Majima first reaches Nele Island, they're trying to make him remember what happened, and if you haven't played uh, Infinite Wealth, you'll be spoiled. Basically, they will. Of course, there are details, but like they tell you who the main antagonist is, what the idea, the plan of the bad guys is, what happens in the end. They, of course, also tell us about what happened in Yakuza Like a Dragon, like Dissolution, the Great Dissolution, and stuff like that. So it's the first 2 hours of the game like features heavy spoilers for the previous mainline Like a Dragon game, which I found interesting because it's not usually the case. You can like watch a movie from the main menu, I believe, if you want to, or in the menu, but really being part of the story, like telling you everything basically, was surprising for me. I don't know if that was on purpose, like for as a way to, if I'm not a big fan of turn-based RPGs, so I didn't play Infinite Wealth, but I want to play this one, so okay, this will help me catch up with the story. Maybe that was the goal here. I don't know.
Yeah, it maybe was the goal. Yeah, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think in Like a Dragon Gaiden they did something similar with Like a Dragon, Yakuza
Yakuza
7.
Like a Dragon. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah, I think they did something similar, but not in the first hour. But as you progress through the game, as it was natural because it was in the same lapse of time as Yakuza Like a Dragon. But I think they did the same, if not so aggressively, but kinda, yeah,
But that made more sense because they were telling the
yeah,
same story in a way from a different perspective, right? So
yeah,
they had
yeah,
to
totally,
like intertwine the two games in a way. So I think it made more sense than here. But
yeah, totally.
yeah, if you don't mind
yeah.
spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any strong feelings one way or another. I thought it was I thought it was fairly effective to dole that out in, piecemeal, just like here's that context before as we introduce this character and then do the flashback to show what they did at the end, or it's like, oh, I have amnesia. I don't know who these people are. Please let me explain it to you what they did in the last game. And I don't know, it was fairly effective. I got to imagine any Yakuza game could be somebody's first Yakuza game, even this one. That's a spinoff. So I think for people coming into the series now, it probably is about as helpful as you're going to get. I think it's probably more effective to dole that context out as it's relevant to the plot or the characters you're bringing back, and organizations like Palicana as they come in, just to make that context fresh for people rather than assuming they're going to remember everything that they might try to watch in a single curated clip sequence at the beginning, right? Flash. So I think this is a better way to do that and also just reminding me because I
No,
forget
yeah.
stuff that happens.
On a personal note, I
Yeah.
totally agree. I was just mentioning this because I found it interesting if people really wanna like don't want to get spoiled. They think, oh, I'm gonna play this, which is like a side game. So and then I'll go back to Yakuza Like a Dragon and then Infinite Wealth, and I'll move on with that story. This spoils that, but it's not a big deal. For
Yeah.
me, at least, it isn't, because I already knew everything. So, and it served as a good reminder, like a good refresher
Yeah,
of what happened before. So yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
luckily, I think it lets you skip cutscenes, right? So
yeah.
if
That's true.
for
Yeah,
whatever reason somebody is in that boat where they just want to see Majima be a pirate, uh, because they liked him from Zero and that was the last one they played or whatever, go ahead, and if you feel like you're going to go back to those other games, you go ahead and just hit that skip button every time a cutscene happens.
I feel like even if you know like the main outcome, like for example for this one, for Infinite Wealth, they tell you who the main villains of the story were, but even then I feel like for a mainline like a Dragon game, you can still enjoy the story and all the twists and all the turns and all the little things that happen, even if you know where they're leading to, what they're leading to. Um, Whereas that maybe can't be said for other types of games and other types of stories.
Yeah.
And it's all everything is so crazy and so like insane, and that you're gonna enjoy yourself either way,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
So
Totally.
that's I think a good selling point for this series. Okay, good. So I think we can remove the spoiler alert here. But I had one more thing I wanted to mention. So we have like 5 minutes to get wrap things up. We already touched on this a little bit, but so this seems to be the new business model, or like whatever we want to call it, of RGG Studio in terms of like a Dragon of this series. So it seems like they release a mainline game 1 year, and then like the next 2 or 3 years they release a side game, a Gaiden, or a remake of a previous side game like Ishin, right? What do you guys think about this? So I'm gonna share my opinion right away. I think this is a good idea,
Yep.
and even if obviously these games like these spin-offs are not as strong as the mainline games, they're still a good way to get people still in the series. You don't lose interest in the series. You can still play in the whole Yakuza or like Dragon World. You can still do stuff, play with your favorite characters and stuff like that, travel the world, but they get more time to work on like the mainline game and still do some money with these spin-offs. And I think this is what it looks like Sega is trying to do this with other series, like Sonic, for example. I'm guessing maybe Persona, which we have had like 5, and then we had Strikers, we had it's the one that we had, the strategy one,
Oh, Tactica.
Tactica. Yeah. So you have 5 Royal, then Strikers, Tactica, right? So the dancing, the rhythm games,
Mhm.
it looks like that's the approach that Sega is taking to these like big games. They're big IPs, right? So what are your thoughts on this? Maybe Pecky first? I don't know. Or Brian?
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a good approach because you have the main entry that is gonna take the series further away, but you have these little spin-offs that I only ask them to be more aggressive, if I can say so. Try new things. Sometimes you can get them right, sometimes you will get them wrong, but make the spin-offs as a test benchmark and see what works, what doesn't, and take that knowledge into the main entries. But with this approach, we have content all the years. Sometimes we have more content, sometimes we have less, but all the time the the people is talking about Yakuza or Like a Dragon, and my friends always tell me, "Hey, how many Yakuzas are in a year? It feels like all the time there is a new Yakuza," and I think that's quite positive for the series, and I like this approach, and I hope they keep with it.
Great. Brian, thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know where quite to begin. I mean, I think this has worked pretty well up to this point, between, having Gaiden and this be substantially different sub stories that are tangential, maybe sometimes related to the main lines, which are clearly marketed as mainline entries. But I think, and Infinite Wealth is where I really felt the downsides of the game trying to do maybe a little too much, where it just had so many subquests and so many like mini games, and the Sujimon whole arc. You had the Dendoko Island arc, and honestly, I like maybe it would be easier if they were to think about trying to partition some of these spin-offs a little bit more. I don't know. I mean, maybe even more overtly, in a way that Persona kind of does, right? Where Strikers is a straight up Muso game from Koei Tecmo, right? And so, or not Koei Tecmo,
Yeah,
Omega Force, yeah, as a developer. But it's like, like might as well pick like a direction you would go with a Dodoko Island, and then have like a dedicated game that builds that out even more, and maybe like that is the pure focus of that game. Or I would definitely play a Yakuza Strikers or Yakuza Warriors. Absolutely. Like get their help in the same way they did with Persona to make that game, right? Like sometimes the spin-offs don't necessarily all have to be on RGG's plate and
Yeah.
contribute and carry over a lot of that modular and a bloat from everything else that they feel like they have to keep including and building on. It's like, and maybe for their part, they could make their narrative spin-offs or whatever, maybe even a little more focused. Maybe not quite episodic, but you don't have to be everything to everybody with every entry. You can kind of just pick a direction for that spin-off and really just lean into that, and then still have these others that people can kind of pursue if they if they want that Dodoko Island experience, or um so I don't know, I would love to see a little bit more of a judicious approach to what they pick and not for the spin-offs, but and then how they focus them. But I would also, excuse me, but yeah, it's kind of hard when you have another game like this and everything starts to feel a little modular, where it's like tacked in or updating various sequences or mini games just because they feel like they have to, or sub stories. It's like they just feel like they have to pay that homage because that's what every other game did. And I don't know, it's also adding, and I think Casey, you might have mentioned this, but it's like adding the proportion of stuff that is not new to what is new is a bit more imbalanced. And I think there is a lot that is kind of carried over that I could have just played in Infinite Wealth, and not have to play it again in this one. And I would be totally fine if they wanted to be a little more focused in the side stuff as well.
Mhm.
I don't think I would miss it if they wanted to really lean into having a more narrative focused spin-off next time.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. I agree. I think we're at the point, or at a point where they really need to start thinking about like balancing things out a little bit in terms of like content, quantity as well of content, right? How much content you put into one of these games. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like as I get older, obviously, also my time gets like scarcer. So I
Yeah.
don't really have as much time to put into like 100-hour games or so. I still try to do that, especially if they're like Sega games or games from franchises that I love. But I do appreciate getting a shorter game like this one with a lot of content, like side content that I can, if I want, that I can do if I want to, but I don't really have to. And I feel like I still got that feeling from this one, which is nice, but I'm starting to feel like we said before, the balance between new and old content, the recycled stuff seems to be like the most of the content that we get, and nothing wrong with that, but it's maybe starting to feel a little bit stale, and so balancing out what new content they include in the spin-off, maybe toning down whatever new side stuff they include in one of the mainline games, maybe try to like even things up a little bit going forward. And I think going forward, I think this is like as low. I think this is a very good game. Don't get me wrong, and I feel like I think we all enjoyed this game a lot. I believe, right?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah.
So all of the criticism that we mentioned throughout this episode comes from like a desire of helping them, like making things even better, and love from the series as well. But I think this as low as they can go without getting into like people calling this just an average game. This is a good game, but going forward, maybe they should pay a little bit more attention to having like story, side content, like everything balanced out, because the gameplay is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that's what, for me, excuses all these other shortcomings this game has. And so going forward, maybe, like you said, Brian, like try to maybe create a strategy. But I think the idea of having one mainline game and then like 2 or 3 spinoffs to tide people over until we have another mainline entry, that's a very good idea. Just pay attention to quality.
Yeah.
Going forward a little bit more.
Totally. I completely agree. Yeah. I think it really is just like honing that strategy around how and what they released as side content, so to speak. I'm not really a big fan of that word, but it's like, what I don't want this is to be a content mill where they just like produce the next Dynasty Warriors, or kind of like so many other games that kind of fell into that, where it's like, oh, there's minimal changes, but you have to buy this whole other game to play most of it again that you've seen before, and there's a little bit new. It's like, it'd be nice if just release the new part as like an expansion or something on Infinite Wealth, or like there's like ways to, I think, do that if they want to keep from having to reinvent the wheel every time, and make it even easier for them to get those pieces out if they would like to explore them. But really, a standalone Dodoko Island game.
I was going to say that exactly. Yeah. What Brian is saying, just release a standalone Dodoko Island. Yeah, that's it.
I agree.
That said, this comes from a perspective, and I believe that's the case for you as well, Peky, of someone who's been playing this series for a long while now, for a long time. Yep. I think many people who are playing these games now are not they are not veteran Yakuza players. They maybe started with Yakuza 0, maybe Like a Dragon, or Yakuza Like a Dragon, or maybe Infinite Wealth, or something like this. So for them, it's still kind of fresh. Just we've seen things. So we have maybe a different perspective. This game has a 79 Metascore on Metacritic. I just checked so at least the PS5 version. On Xbox, it's 86. On PC, 81. So it's pretty good score here. The user score, 8.1. So I think that's a fairly...
It's okay.
Very good score.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's also got some 100% reviews here for VG 24/7 gave it a 100. A user here gave it a 10, another one a 10. So yeah, some people give it a 7, a 5. So it depends, right? It's Metacritic, and it's always very subjective. But I think
honestly, I think they could all be correct depending on what you prioritize and want out of the game and what how you're approaching it, really.
Yeah, if you care about gameplay, it's a solid 10. It could be a solid 10. So yeah, I understand. So yeah, and if you were expecting more from the story, it could be a 5. So yeah, I agree with both of them. So yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying here, what I think we're all saying is, if you're a fan of the series, play it and make up your own mind, right? In terms of how you feel about this. Shout out, by the way, to probably the best name for one of the characters, Captain Yakuza. Of course, Captain Yakuza. Who could also be the name of the main character for people who are not aware of this series and they don't know who that person is. Maybe that's Captain Yakuza. So who knows? and also shout out again to Captain Beef, who does a really meta comment here at some point. You know, you have a bad habit of treating people like one-off background characters. I've got lots going on for your information. So there are still these humorous moments, including in side quests like the one that Brian mentioned, the compliance one. You still have the proficiency tests as well. Harder this time as well. So there's a challenge, at least for me, because they're like C-based, at least the one that I took, the first one, like C stuff that I'm not really too familiar with. So, but there's lots to do. There's a lot of content here, so it will keep you busy. If you're a fan of the series, obviously you'll find everything that you love and the ship stuff as well, which is new. So yeah, guys, thank you very much. I think that about covers it. It's been a lengthy discussion about this. We even got into spoiler territory. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on the game with me. But now I want to tell people where they can find you in whatever projects you're working on or not. So let's start with Peky.
Yeah, so you can find me on Persona Spain. We have a Twitter account, Instagram account, even a YouTube channel. And you can find me there. I mainly do guides in Spanish for the Persona games, but I also cover some other games, so you can check me there.
Yeah, including this game, right?
Yeah, including this game. I reviewed this game, so you can read about it in our website.
Okay, excellent. Brian.
We'll just give a shout out to the Junkyard folks, the Dreamcast Junkyard. You can pretty much search for it online, our blog, and social media. I don't even know if we're on Twitter anymore. I have no idea. I believe Blue Sky, maybe. Yeah. I think both. Yeah.
Both. Yeah.
And then other stuff. We have, I don't know if we've updated the YouTube channel in a while, but just search Dreamcast Junkyard. The blog is probably the main thing. Oh, and we have a podcast, the Dream Pod.
And that's on YouTube, by the way. Yeah.
Is it?
It is.
Okay. Thanks, Lewis. Sorry, I didn't know. And also I'd like to give a shout out to Peky. Your shirt is the Ridge Racer 4 shirt is really
very true.
Cool.
Very true. Wait, let's
Thank you.
There we go.
I really love Ridge Racer 4. Yeah, it's one of my favorite games. So
same. Yeah.
And also the merch on your right. Our left, your right.
Oh, yeah.
No, the other one. I mean everything, but yes, that's appropriate. Yes, very good.
Nice.
Including Refantasio. There's Refantasio as well.
And I guess I'm also on social media, I suppose. Blue Sky mostly. Am I Jet Brian Radio? Jet Brian Radio, I think is what it is.
Of course it is. course. People know that. Yeah.
I,
And all
I
those
don't
links will
half the
be
time.
people will find all the links in the show notes, right? So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. As for myself, I'm always around. The Sega Lounge will return next week with actually an interview, which we haven't done much this season. I think it's going to be the first one. We're having these panel discussions, which I enjoy very much. But next week we'll be back with an interview, and this year there are a lot of milestone anniversaries, Sega related and otherwise. But we'll do. I'll be sure to have you guys back again this season for more Sega talk. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll be back next week. Bye. Thanks, guys, for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That was a
Bye-bye.
lot of fun.